Hello all. Today we are going to discuss one of the main concepts in Indian polity. We are going to discuss a main concept. Significance of Representation of People's Act and Delimitation Act. Okay, let us discuss one by one. So, the articles of 81 and 170 of the Indian Constitution lays down the maximum number of seats in Parliament and legislative assemblies of the states. So it determines how much maximum number of seats to be filled in Lok Sabha and legislative assemblies of the state. And it also lays down some of the principles for allocating of seats in the House of People, which is the Lok Sabha among the states. So in state legislative assemblies, it is done by provided by the law. So seats are allocated by law. Similarly, Article 171 of the Constitution of India lays down the maximum and minimum number of seats in the legislative councils. So Article 81 and 170 speaks about House of People, which is the Lok Sabha, and the legislative assemblies. Here 171 speaks about the legislative council, which is the bicameralism. So two houses, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. So Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, in the same manner, legislative assembly, legislative council. So legislative assembly and Lok Sabha are directly elected, whereas Rajya Sabha and legislative council are indirectly elected. Okay. And here comes the Representation of People's Act 1950. So the Representation of People Act 1950 was enacted to provide the allocation of seats to the House of the People, which is the Lok Sabha, and the Legislative Council and legislative assemblies and legislative councils of the states alone. Here, this act also sought to confer on the President. So it must be get right with President the powers to delimit the territorial constituencies. So territorial constituencies should be separated by Election Commission of India. It should have consultation and President has the power to approve it. Okay, so various constituencies for the purpose of elections to fill the seats in House of the People, legislative assemblies and legislative councils of states. Still here we have not discussed anything about union territories. And then here comes this act further provided for the registration of electors for parliamentary constituencies. It enables the registration of voters. So if a person who is from a constituency, if he is a resident there, he can apply for voter ID. And he himself register as elector. And for the assembly as well as council constituencies. The qualification and disqualification of such registrations are also given here. To sum up this act, there are some following provisions relating to elections. One is the allocation of seats in the House of the People, which is the Lok Sabha, and state legislative assemblies, which is for MLA, and state legislative councils, which is MLC. So in Lok Sabha, the maximum number of seats is 552, where 543 members are filled. And for Rajya Sabha, 250 is the maximum number of seats, but 245 seats are filled. Earlier it was 545. Now, after 2019, the representation of Anglo-Indian has been removed from Indian Parliament. And then the delimitation of parliamentary, assembly and council constituencies takes place here. And election officers like chief electoral officers, district election officers, electoral registration officers, etc. to be engaged to work. So the chief electoral officer would be the district collector or district magistrate. If there comes an MP election, he would be acting as the returning officer also. And the electoral rolls for the parliamentary, assembly elections and council constituencies to be prepared by them. So the manner of filling seats in the Council of States to be filled by the representatives of union territories also. So in filling the council of states, which is the Rajya Sabha, it is elected by, the MPs are elected by voting of MLAs in their respective states. Okay. If a member need to become a member of parliament of Rajya Sabha, he needs to have a support of 39 MLA votes. So one Rajya Sabha MP can be chose basis of voting of 39 MLAs. And then the local authorities for the purpose of elections to the state legislative councils. Here in state legislative councils, 1/3 of the members should be from school primary teachers, and then the Panchayati Raj workers, etc. would be taking place. So they also bear the jurisdictions of civil courts. How a civil court works, they too works. And here comes the most important Representation of People Act 1951. Here, in Representation of People Act 1950, they just introduced how much number of seats to be allocated, and the qualification and disqualification of an elector alone has been given. But later, every time there would be an amendment or any change to have some points to be included. By the same manner, they have also introduced many things like qualification and disqualification of a member of a parliament or a member of legislative assemblies has been inculcated later in the year 1951. So, the Representation of People Act 1950 did not contain all the provisions relating to elections, but merely provided for the allocation of seats alone and in the delimitation of constituencies for the purpose of elections. To the House of People, legislatures of these states, only their qualification of voters has been given there. But the provisions of actual conduct of elections, conduct means how an election should be conducted. How an election to be conducted. To the houses of parliament and the houses of legislature of each state, the qualification and disqualification for the membership of these houses, if they involve in corrupt practices, they should be punished, and other electoral offences, if they involve in any other electoral offences like giving bribes or giving gifts to the voters, it should be mandated to ask a question, and if they become convict, they should be punished. So, this Representation of People Act, the most important one is if a MP or MLA has been convicted, if he has been convicted for more than 2 years, he could not contest in election for next 6 years. He could not contest in election for next 6 years. So totally 8 years he could not contest. To have an example, in 2024, leader of opposition and the floor president of Congress, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, has been convicted for more than 2 years, and his post of membership has been removed by the Speaker of the Parliament, and later he challenged in the court and he reverted it back. Okay. And broadly speaking, about this act contains many provisions relating to electoral matters. So it speaks about the qualifications and disqualifications for membership of the parliament and state legislature. So 1950 Act just gave a brief idea about allocation of seats and how electoral roll should be prepared, how an elector can be chosen. So this broadly speaks about the qualification and disqualification for membership of parliament and state legislature. And then it gives the notification of general elections. So Election Commission of India gives the proper notification of general elections. So it is given based on the Representation of People Act 1951. So whenever the election date is revealed, from that time, model code of conduct will be implemented. And then the administrative machinery for the conduct of elections. So the administrative machinery involves the school teachers, revenue department workers, other departments and various departments of government would be engaged for conducting the elections. And there is a registration of political parties. If a political party, if whomsoever is willing to create a new political party or willing to have a new political party, they must be registered to Election Commission of India based on the Representation of People Act 1951. And this helps them to conduct the elections, and this proves them to have some conduct over how an election should be conducted. And they also provides free supply of certain material to the candidates of recognized political parties. It means that they can involve in giving of shawls to honor the people. So likewise, and then here comes the disputes regarding elections. So 1950 Act did not speak about any disputes, but this 1951 Act speaks about any disputes regarding elections and the corrupt practices and electoral offences also. The powers of Election Commission in connection with inquiries as to disqualification of members. So after inquiry, Election Commission of India has the choice of disqualifying a member if his wrongs are proven. And then by-elections and time limit for filling vacancies. If a vacancy arises, fresh election to be held within 6 months. Like we have studied in Panchayati Raj institution, if the tenure of the Panchayati Raj institution is 5 years, if it is disqualified earlier, a fresh election to be held within 6 months. The same pattern is being followed. This is the pattern which is followed there. So in 6 months, there should be a fast elections, and the time limit should be noted well. And then the miscellaneous provisions relating to elections, and it also bears the jurisdiction of civil code. And here comes the conduct of elections. First one is nomination of the candidate. A person who is willing to contest in the election in a particular constituency, he need to file a nomination to the returning officer. So he need to get signed from 10 members of that particular constituency to contest in election. And then one member has to propose him. Then 2 members need to second it. And the candidates and their agents. The candidates, whomsoever is filing the nomination, he should inform the Election Commission, which is the returning officer, that I am the candidate and I have some people to have work with me. So he is their agents. And then the general procedure of elections comes, which is the model code of conduct. So during the time of model code of conduct, surveillance would be more. If a general public need to take money, they too should have a evidence that what money they are carrying. So this general procedure at elections comes place. And then there comes the polling day. During the polling day, the election starts from 7 a.m. and goes till 6 p.m. If the voters are if the voters coming late or more, then they will be given tokens. So the tokens will be given prior 6. Those who get tokens can vote till the election completes. Else, if they don't have any tokens, if they come after 6 p.m., they could not vote. And then after this polling of elections, the EVMs are taken to district headquarters. EVMs are taken to district headquarters. So the counting of votes, there comes the result today. So multiple elections. In 2024, the parliamentary election held in 7 phases. We conducted election for 543 constituencies all over India, but it took 7 phases because of population, because of administrative machineries, etc. And then there comes the publication of election results and nominations. So it is released by Election Commission of India. And a person whomsoever is willing to contest in the election, he needs to submit a declaration on assets and liabilities. So he should submit his asset, his or her spouse asset, etc. And then there comes an election expenses. Election expenses is that till 1 crore a candidate can spend in his constituency for not giving to the public. He should come, he should have campaign, he should call his agents, so he need to spend to them. So it is election expenses. Okay, if there arises a dispute, what are all the mechanism we to follow? So if there is a dispute, so a candidate has to present an election petition to the High Court. Hence, the disputes of election commissions or elections takes place in High Court. Article 226. And then there goes the trial of election petition. If he can withdraw or he can fight for the election petitions, if the result is unfavorable, he can go to appeal for Supreme Court, and the cost and security for cost should be borne by the person who have applied for election petition. And then without this significance of Representation of People Act 1950 and 51, we need to know about Delimitations Act 2002, because delimitation is that marking up of constituencies, marking up of territorial constituencies based on census, which is the population based. So Article 82 and 170 speaks about the readjustment and the division of each states into a territorial constituencies, which is for parliamentary constituencies. It is done by the basis of 2001 census. By such authority and such a manner a parliament by law can determine. So this Delimitation Act has been framed to have a territorial readjustment based on the population of 2001 census, but unfortunately it does not take place. It does not take place. So further, the articles of 330 and 332 of the Indian Constitution provides for the refixing the number of seats. So we know reservation of seats. Reservation of seats is given to SC and STs. It is given for MP election, it is given for MLA election, and for local body election we have SC reservation, ST reservation, and 1/3 of seats reserved for women. But this Article 330 and 332 of Indian Constitution provides for the refixing the number of seats to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes based on the population of 2001 census, but it does not take over. But today, the 2024 election held for 543 constituencies based on the territorial constituencies demarked on the 1971 census. Why we need a change? Because of the uneven growth of the population in different constituencies and different parts makes less number of electors participation in elections. So a push factor of migration from rural to urban makes the participation of voters less in numbers. And then reform is also needed, but therefore we brought the Delimitation Act 2002. It was enacted to set up a delimitation commission to demarcate the number of territorial constituencies based on the 2001 census, but it does not come up. The proposed delimitation commission would refix the number of seats to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes on the basis of 2001 census without affecting the number of seats based on the 1971 census. In 1971, if out of 543 MP seats, if there are 80 SC seats and 40 ST seats, the number should not be left behind. In 2001 census, it should be increased only, not decreased, because a proper representation to be made. And this act also provides certain guidelines in the manner of delimitation. It provides the task of carrying out of delimitations to the parliamentary and assembly constituencies. It also specifically provided that the Delimitation Commission, which the Delimitation Act 2002 specifically established a date that it should be completed within July 31, 2008, but the proposed work has not fulfilled and it does not come into force. So the proposed delimitation would apply to every general election. So if it has been come into force, every election, which is the general election or by-election or state election, etc., it should be in this manner only. So demarcation of territorial constituencies has been done by 4 times. For 4 times. It is a previous year question, UPSC 2024. So have a look on it, and 2026 there would be a demarcation. So it is still in news. So have a look on it. So they are expecting 80 plus MPs from 550 MPs. So have a great look on it. And then the other acts relating to elections are Parliament Prevention of Disqualification Acts 1954, which declares that a certain office of profit. What do you mean by office of profit? Is that if a person who is a MP or MLA should not get any other government salary. So this is called office of profit from any post. So office of profit is not defined in Constitution. So there was a previous year question in 2019. Office of profit is well defined in Indian Constitution. So it is wrong. And then the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Amendment Act 1976, which provides for the inclusion in and exclusion from the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes. A particular community from SC or STs would be asking for upgradation of their communities on the basis of OBC or OC category. So if they are interested to go, then the readjustment of representation constituencies for parliamentary would be taken place. Till now, we have not spoken anything about Government of Union Territories Act. So Union Territories Act 1963 provides for the MP representations in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. So the legislatures, the union territories with the legislatures are Pondicherry, Jammu Kashmir, and some more. Delhi, which is the National Capital Region, it comes under National Capital Territory of Delhi Act. By this, it has legislature. And the Presidential and Vice Presidential Elections Act 1952 regulates certain matter relating to or connected with the elections of office of President and Vice President of India are also addressed in this other elections act, other acts relating to elections. So have a great look on it. Representation of People Act 1950 and 1951 can be asked in mains questions. Have a greater look on Delimitation Commission, which is going to happen in near future. So these are all the most important ones. Thanking you all. Thank you.